Hey everyone, Sycra here, and welcome to another episode of Pointy Chins, where I take you through my art journey. Now, in this episode, I'm going to take you through my process of creating a product for the Eastern European Comic Con. Now, it's my first convention, and they invited me to have a booth there and also to host a panel. And because I've never done anything like this before, it was like, well, okay, sure, but what do I sell at a booth? I had no idea, because my work so far has been freelance, so I just do work for other people. It's not really that I put my own work out there for consumption, I guess. I don't even know if anyone would want to buy my stuff, so anyway. So to begin with, I did some exercises here, and it was just about appealing shapes and how to divide an object into appealing shapes. Now, I've covered this before where I'm trying to find appeal, and I did this shape, and it's like, no, that's not really cool. This one, no, this one has something, but just if I had a few lines, what would be a very appealing way of arranging them? And this was like, yeah, that kind of works. This one's not as good, I felt. This one, and when I say it's not as good, I can't really tell you why, because I'm not sure myself. It's just experimenting, like, what kind of feeling do I get? What kind of reaction is in my gut to these things? Am I attracted to them, or does it just look like, meh, it's okay, but it's nothing special? So again, arranging things more. And then I thought, this is pretty cool. I did this circle, I'm like, that's nice. This one's pretty appealing. And then I thought about this square, and I thought, okay, why don't I take this and put it on this square? And it came out like this, and I thought, wow, that's really appealing, that's very good. What if I applied that to an oval, and I got something like this? And then what if I added some shading to it, and I got something like this? And what if I created a hollow inside here? And just some more things with this thing following the form, making this look more three-dimensional. Another ribbon. Thinking about, I had done this exercise with bug heads where I thought, if I was going to redesign a bug's head and you have just the eye and the shape of the head, what's an appealing ratio of eye to head, and where would you place the eye and what shape would it be? So I did a few more of those, and this is something interesting. I kind of like the lines I got on this, like this one especially, that looks pretty nice. And yeah, so that was that. Now, back to the cards, then I thought, okay, let me do some heads and just get a bit more comfortable. Okay, some heads here, this head, this head. This one I kind of like. I like how it feels more three-dimensional than this one or this one. And then this one just looks cool. I really like this one. Hate this one beside it, but this feels very appealing, very aesthetically pleasing. And so cards. So then I started thinking, okay, let me do cards. What would be good designs? What if I had a square and an oval in it? And I have the oval kind of offset. Now, creating sketches has always been okay for me, but creating a finished product is something that is extremely hard for me. Thinking in terms of graphic design. Now, a lot of the people I really admire who are good at this, they often have graphic design backgrounds. I interviewed Artgerm, and he had a graphic design background. I interviewed Rake, and he had a graphic design background. I think even Loish might have had a graphic design background. And this is something I'm lacking. So it's like, okay, well, let's try and just practice and experiment and use this method, and maybe I can make up for this shortcoming. But I really wasn't sure, like, okay, do I make cards that are just very graphic and have a silhouette like this? Do I make them more like poses and it's more of a framing thing and not so graphic? You know, what shape should I have? Should I have a lot of perspective going? Should I simplify it? This was just an exercise of like, well, if I just have lines, how can I arrange them on a page? I was trying to get into this mindset of a graphic designer. And I did this one, and it had, again, the box with the oval, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. And I tried this, and I thought, okay, what about one where it's just, again, the framing thing, and you have elements like a mermaid character maybe, but with a different tail, and it's just framed. I thought that's kind of cool. And then this one was, what if I have a very vertical, very tall card, but then it's even taller because I put big white stripes on either side and contain the figure within that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe not feeling it too much. Again, other options, trying to frame stuff, frame elements, bigger negative space with a character that's hugging the walls. Again, more negative space, very little positive space, and maybe this would be the back of the card. And just going some more. But the one I really liked out of all these was probably this one right here, where you have an oval, but the oval is sort of pushed to the top, and then you have a figure within that. So I thought, okay, that's cool. And then I went ahead and did some more sketches of just some posing. I kind of like this. It's kind of random, but I'm not really sure what it is, but I kind of like the shapes involved. Like, obviously it's a girl, but not really sure what this other extra stuff is. And then just some more card design, thinking about, okay, so let's say I do that oval. Do I want a bunch of decorative elements around? And here I'm doing some discs with some ellipses. I always practice drawing ellipses and drawing circles and things just for the sake of, I don't know, it makes my arm worked out. I guess it's a good warm-up. And here's some decorative elements again, because this is stuff I really suck at. And then I thought, what if I take the oval and I tilt it diagonally and I make something like this where you're sort of seeing through, but I still sort of preferred the graphic thing a bit better. So I thought, okay, let's go with this graphic oval shape. So I did a bunch of pages, as you can see, a bunch of pages of different ideas for poses for the character, and I wanted to keep it really rough. This is just a thumbnail process, and I thought I'll do a bunch. So I start by filling the page with just these rectangles, with no figures inside, just rectangles, and that's one page. And then I go in and I put in the ovals, and then I put the character within. So just thumbnail sketching, and I don't really like any of these, but this is the first page anyway, so it's probably not going to be that good. That's pretty normal to struggle with the first page. But yeah, some of the ideas were like, yeah, this page not really liking any of them, but this page like, okay, that's not really great, but that's okay, you know. It's pretty graphic. It's almost like the letter I, a small letter I with the dot and then the line, and those usually work if you simplify the figure to basic things like letters. It's often not a bad idea. This is getting better. This one's like, yeah, that's okay. It's more dynamic than, say, this one that feels very stiff and sort of boring. And then this one, I'm not even sure what's going on. And this one, it's like, it's okay again. This one I really liked. It's a back view and looking over the shoulder. I thought, that's cool. And then this one I liked as well. This one's not really sure what's going on, but it's like, maybe I could do something with this. And then again, this one I really liked. It's very, very graphic, very flat, and just this floating woman with her hair in a very, I don't know, iconic shape. It's not really flowing, but it's all very stiff, and she would have a sort of bitchy expression. This one's a bit more animated with more movement, and this one has some frilly stuff, and I kind of like this one too, and I like this one as well. The way I see it is it's a woman. They're all women, because I wanted to do that as my theme, because that's what I enjoy drawing, is girls and women, and so I thought I'd have her sort of playing a flute and floating, and they're also all floating. I should mention that as well, because I like the idea of defying gravity and having hair that defies gravity, and just sort of, I don't know, I find it very elegant to be floating around and off the ground and just have stuff not really making sense, but anyway. So here's some smaller frames. I can fit 5 on a page. I think this one was only 4 on a page. And so Okay, some more. I didn't really like these. This one's okay. But at least all of them, even if I don't like them, they're somewhat better than the ones I started out with. The energy's getting there. Like, this one's kind of cool. She has her legs tucked under her. And I really like this one. Seemed really cool, like the energy. And this thing on the back is her hair, so her hair's really long. And though she's floating, her hair's sort of creating this shape in between. I thought that was cool. And then didn't care for these two that much. This one's really crazy with, I don't know if it makes any sense, but this leg is coming forward and down, and this leg's going back, and it's a lot of crazy posing. I didn't care for that. And then this one I liked a lot. So again, it's an over-the-shoulder back view with her hair coming down and around. And I don't know why I find over-the-shoulder poses so elegant, but I do. And more. This one has some foreshortening to it. So the other ones were basically pretty tame with the perspective. But I thought, okay, let's make this one coming towards the camera. But then I wasn't sure, like, do I want to do foreshortening? Because if I do one that's foreshortened and then the others are very graphic, it's going to seem a bit weird. So I figured I probably have to go with one or the other, with either foreshortening and crazy poses and dynamic perspective, or more graphic, flat stuff. And so again, here's some more dynamic stuff. Dynamic. This one I thought, okay, maybe I could do something with this. Same with this one. This one's more, again, back view, looking over the shoulder, but in a different pose. This one's got quite a bit of energy, which I like. And this one I like. And let's see. I hate the proportions on this one. Some of these look very broken. A little bit too broken. Because I don't care if it's a little broken, but when it's too broken, yeah, it's a bit much. And this one's a bit too close up. I thought, if I'm going to stick with the entire figure on the page, maybe that would be wiser. So anyway, this was all my thumbnail sketching. And then what I did is I narrowed it down to a few. So here we have 12 of the cards of the thumbnails that I like. So you still can see underneath is the original thumbnail. And then I did this more cleaned up version. That's very rough still, but it's a lot more detailed than what was originally on the page. And this is something I always struggle with, is that once I take a rough sketch and I try and clean it up, the more I clean it, the more energy I lose, the more I hate it. I'm like, I'm losing it, I'm losing the cool thing. So that was my big struggle, is to take what I have and not lose things. So it's like, okay, this one's okay, this one not really feeling it, this one's not really working, but this one, remember the one I said I really liked, the hair goes through the middle? This one, she's looking over her shoulder. Neither of these turned out nearly as good as what the original sketch was. Same with these. This one turned out okay, but not great. This one, again, it's more of an action pose. This one I completely changed up. I gave her like this hooded mask and a sword, which no one else has like a lot of clothing. They're all very scantily clad. And then this one's like, yeah, okay, maybe not really liking this too much. But again, I start to feel like, or I'm starting to think that maybe this is just part of the process. It's never going to get as cool as the thumbnail sketch. So really make your thumbnail sketch as cool as you possibly can, and then anticipate that it's going to be a little less energy, but then you bring something else in with the refinement and the polish. Okay, so here I guess I got tired of doing the card thing, and I thought, okay, let me just practice some more. I don't know, playing around with proportions as usual, drawing a bit more design stuff, you know. Crazy hair, it's not really working, it's very flat. But this is kind of cool. This stripy thing, not really sure what it is, but it's like, I don't know what it is, but I kind of like it. And this too, kind of like these shapes, and they're energetic. This arm is completely broken, but the idea is nice, the energy is nice. And I'm finding that when I think of what I like, it tends to be stuff that doesn't really exist. I don't like drawing clothes that are clothes in reality. There's a guy with a tiny, like this is his tiny head, and then that's his neck, and then he just has a gigantic body with armor and stuff on it. But anyway, as I was saying, I like stuff that it's not really real life stuff. Real life clothing, real life even proportions. But I also recognize that I need to be able to do that to have believability in my work. So here I'm doing some figure drawing, and these are all from reference. So there's this pose, and this is again a reference pose, but it's got that Escher Girls pose. And if you don't know what Escher Girls is, it's a site that really exposes this one pose that artists seem to favor a lot, which is a pose where you see both the butt and the boobs on a figure, and it's very twisted. And usually the point is this is impossible, but with this pose it was actually a real person doing it, and it's like, oh, so the body can twist quite a bit. I suppose it's a bit restrained. You know, you're not seeing all the front of the chest completely exposed and the front of the butt completely exposed. So it's a bit of a side view, but it's like, okay, so there's that. And then this pose, I actually really like this. I'm starting to like how my style looks when I use reference. It's like, man, that's pretty cool. I like the energy in this, and this twist as well. That's really nice. And some more. This proportion is really messed up, so definitely not very good there. And this one's okay. I like the proportions on this much better. And then this pose, again, not very good proportions. The figure looks a bit too stretched and also very thin. I don't know, just doesn't work for me, as opposed to this, which is much more energy. And some more crazy hair, because again, I don't like hair that makes sense, and I don't like clothes that make sense, and so I like to just experiment with, okay, what can I do? What is me? What feels like me? And sometimes I'm afraid that I'm just so afraid of being like everybody else that I'll gravitate towards really stupid ideas just for the sake of being different. I worry about that, but at the same time, I feel like, okay, well, if the worst is that I will just pursue crazy ideas, then at least they'll be unique. It might be a bad idea overall for my career, but maybe it's interesting for, I don't know, from an art standpoint. It's like, well, if I do what everyone else does, there's a lot of that already. And if I do something stupid, but it's unique, at least it's new. And maybe it'll be a warning sign to other people, like, don't go down this path. This artist, Sycra, he tried to do that, and it turned out really dumb. But I don't know, I kind of like them, so if no one else likes them, I still like them. I like this spiral shape. And I start doing this shape more, this spirally shape. Here I'm thinking about spirals and what's a good proportion. I really like this character. It's very small, but that's cool to me anyway. Oh, and then what I was thinking, here's some other graphic or crazy proportions but shapey stuff that doesn't make any sense. I was thinking, okay, my sharp pointy thing, it's very like what is in nature with predators. I've mentioned this before, that very sharp shapes exist in nature, and so I thought, what if I just look at reference and try and do an animal, or some animals that are already possessing this sharpness, and do it in my style. And so here's a tiger, and see all these V shapes and all this sharpness that exists. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Or I really like tigers, and then some birds of prey. And then I did a cute duckling, because I'm like, okay, fine, birds of prey, they look fine in the sharp style, because they exist. Like, my style is a lot based on the things I like, and I like these shapes. I like birds that look like this. So it's like, oh, let's just do a cute duckling with the same sharpness, and it's like, yeah, it's okay, maybe not. And this one's just some imaginary cat thing that I made up. And this, I have no idea what's going on with this, but it's pretty. She just has some circles. I don't know. In Vancouver, we have this thing where the natives would stack stones on top of each other. I don't know, maybe it's everywhere in the world. But it reminds me of that, like stacking pebbles on top of each other. And okay, so here what I did is I fleshed out these more, and I thought, okay, the perspective needs to be fixed, because sure, I can do these thumbnails and they're very small and they're very whatever, you know, little tiny things, but once you want to make it bigger and make a finished piece, you have to think about things like perspective. And with the red areas, what I was thinking is potential places of clothing, or even if it's not clothing, of garment type stuff, or whatever. Areas that aren't going to be skin would be in red. And I was thinking, okay, so let me think of it almost like the body is a canvas, and I'm trying to plan these graphic shapes and where would they go. So again, having the perspective helped me see things more in 3 dimensions. You can see I've got all these ovals to describe what I'm looking up at and what I'm looking down at. So yeah, some more fleshing out. But again, it's getting more stiff and more boring and more dull as far as I'm concerned. I thought of this lady having sort of like a snake tail, and yeah, just some more fleshing out of characters. See this one with the sword, but it's not nearly as cool as the first one was. And then I thought, okay, let me take them, a couple of them, and do a test of what the end result would look like. So I thought, okay, I'll have this oval, and you can see there's just some custom brushes, and I put some marks down, had some debris floating around, and they're just sort of posed in there, almost like they're within these capsules, and they're floating, but there's also stuff floating around. And you can see what I mean by clothing, but not really clothing. It's like this, I guess it's decorative and it's sort of clothing, but it doesn't really make sense. It's not really affixed to the skin properly. But whatever. Didn't like this one, but I quite like this one. I thought, man, that's cool. I really like how I captured that face, because it's got the expression I want, because it's got the sharpness I want, and it's got the energy that I like. Then I thought, okay, let me redo the face, because I think I talked to my friend Bob Meatbag about it, and he's like, well, the face is a bit too, like, everything's so flat in this. See, it's very side view. But I really hated this face and tried to do a bit more with the body. I redid this girl because I didn't like this hair. I thought, this looks very boring. And in the thumbnail, I changed the hair, and I thought that, or in this fixed perspective, because I actually did the color first, and then I fixed the perspective. And I thought, that's cooler, because we get to see the underside of the hair, and I thought it'd have 2 layers of hair, and they're almost floating. And so, and I thought this stuff on her wouldn't be exactly clothing, but almost like a slime that's dripping, and it's got this flow to it. And so I ended up coloring this one again, and I changed the outfit from this one, because this one, I liked it, but I talked to Flavia and Bob Meatbag, and they liked this one better for the clothing. So I'm like, okay, this is much more organic, and it's got more, these are all bone and stuff, and I thought, okay, let me try and do something with that. But I thought, okay, what I'm lacking is still understanding little design elements. So here I did this shape, this spirally shape, and I'm sure it's been done by other people before. It sort of reminds me of Tim Burton stuff, but I thought it was cool because it has a curve to it, but it also has points to it. And I thought it worked really well with my sharp style. Again, here's some more sharpness, and then it gets a bit more, organic and curvy. But yeah, just different shapes. What I could use for elements on their attire, like parts of their armor maybe. drawing a leaf, like making it cool, and just repeating shapes. Here's some repeating shapes, and some curves, just in a thing, like maybe there's a bracelet and it has a design on it. Well, what could the design be? And then I thought, what if I make it more sharp? And this shape, again, it's that spiral with sharp, almost like sharp thorns on it, which I really like. And here's a boot with some spirals on it. I don't really like this at all, but whatever, you know, it's there. And here's a leaf, because this leaf is sort of front view, and I thought, well, I should do some where the leaf is coming towards us a little bit from a different perspective. And then I did some more stuff, but take some of this stuff and put it on a figure. So, okay, you have some of these spirals. What can you do with them? Here I put some of the spirals in the hair, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I made a video recently about, well, it's a little bit, a while ago anyway. It's a little while ago that I made this. But anyway, it's about ellipses and ovals and stuff. Ellipses on planes, and this is where I started seeing it, because I was doing stuff like this and it's like, this is much easier when I think of it in this way. And I like this shape. It's almost like, to me, it reminds me of Aquafresh toothpaste if it was squeezed out, and just using that as like a hair design. Again, here it's a similar thing, almost like an ice cream with a, you know, when you have like chocolate and vanilla or whatever, and it's a twist. And yeah, more shapes. And here I decided to slap on the head that I liked onto that body, which I thought, okay, fine, if the body's better in the newer version, let me at least get the head I like. And I fleshed this one out a bit more. And I did this one, and it used to have tentacles all around and stuff, and I thought, let's just do it without. And I thought, no, I'm not going with this one. This one's not working at all. It looks from a different world, because this looks like real world, like almost fishnets. And it's very bondagey, very overly sexual. And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to work with that. But then I thought, fine, instead, let me use it as practice for the coloring technique, because I wanted to try something that's both cell shaded but has a bit of dimension. I wasn't sure if I should go completely flat coloring or have a bit of airbrushing. And before this, every time I mixed airbrushy stuff, like a painted stuff, it always came out lame. It didn't look good, it didn't look like it fit. But in this one, it was like, it actually looked like it fit. And I wanted squishy areas, and it's like, that actually looks squishy, cool, this is actually working. So with my technique, I've explained my coloring technique. I have a video that describes it, how I go about coloring, and it's very easy to make different versions, so that's why I have so many different versions. But yeah, I take this one, then I tried this color scheme. I quite like how it looks with the darker skin tones, and how with this one, she has this area in the middle. You see, like, her skin is two-toned, and with this it's just sort of subtly hinted at. You almost can't see it unless you look for it, and I thought that was nice. And I did one with just very hot pink, crazy, saturated colors just to see. And it's like, yeah, it's not bad. I don't hate it. Again, I really like these highlights, and I like how the shading really helps to define some of these forms. Anatomically, it's quite a mess, you know, it's not really good proportions or anything, it's not even cohesive as a style, but for what I wanted to get, it was a test on what is the coloring style and will it work, and I felt the answer was yes, it can work. So now I'm just fleshing out these cards. So this one's done, this one's pretty much done, and then this one's like, yeah, how am I going to do this, you know? This is a lot of work for me. It's not easy to plan out stuff like this one. It's really a struggle. This one's a struggle, but I don't hate it that much. This one's like, it's okay. I still have to work on some of the others, but that's kind of what I'm going through right now. It's just taking these and fleshing them out, adding more detail, working on some, and jumping around. So maybe I'll work on this one for a day, and then I'll work on this one, or not a day, because each page is 1 day's worth work. I thought, what if I made this one more sci-fi, and this one too, a bit more sci-fi, and have these floating circles on this one with the hood. I got rid of the sword, and I made her more of a creature. And I thought, well, fine, if I make this one a creature, maybe I should make this one a creature as well. And then it felt a bit more unique. And this one could also be like a creature, where she has these, I don't know, like this weird body. And then I thought about this shape again that I was using, because it's like, well, I keep going between practice and performance. And I think this is very important. You want to divide your work into practice and performance, and when you're performing, you don't want to be practicing. So what I mean by practice is when you're trying to learn how to do something. You want to learn how to draw an arm, you do that in the practice state. Performance is when you're creating a finished piece. It's like, okay, I want this person to be doing this. You don't want to be drawing a finished piece and like, well, I don't understand the arm, let me practice drawing the arm. I don't think that's very wise. And it's taken me a while to learn this, that I should really be separating these two elements. So you'll see I go from 1 day of drawing the finished work, and then another day of just, okay, let me explore this. So here I have this circle, this spiral shape, and let me put it on another form, like a sphere. And what if I do this thing where I break it down? In Vancouver, there's a thing called Richmond Night Market, and they have these potatoes that are cut in a certain way. Maybe they have it in other parts of the world as well. I just haven't seen it. And then they take the potato and they cut it like this, and it spirals, and they put it on a skewer, and it reminds me of that. And here it's on more of a, like a leg shape or an arm shape, just this type of shape. And I also have this spiral here, and here it's on a cube. Again, just on different forms, playing around with stuff like this, like creases and stuff. This guy, I don't know what he is, but it's kind of interesting. And this floating kid thing, don't know. But again, kind of like it. And here's some weird face. And here it is on, it's on like a cylinder, like if it was a roll, and I don't know, some poses. And here it is as if it's a banner. And I filled in the triangle parts. And so it's like, okay, go back to this thing. So I fleshed this one out some more. I'm still not liking it. I kind of like the shoes, and I like some of these circly things. They don't make any sense, but again, I'm not going for sense, and I like the face. It's like, that's kind of nice. It's much, when I look at this, I almost see two groups. Like, this one seems like a very evil character. This one seems a bit nicer. These two seem very much nicer. I like this character, this small one. And yeah, fleshing out some more. So this one, the sci-fi one, got done a bit more. This one, it feels like I kind of like it, but it feels very plain. There's just not enough going on, especially when you compare this one to this one that's just got a bunch of stuff on her. But yep, another day. So this time I fleshed out this character, and I guess this character, and this character a bit more. So yeah, there's that. And then this day was this one got a helmet. This one got defined. Again, more organic, weird shapes that don't really make sense, but it's like whatever. And this one, I really wasn't feeling this one. I went overboard with these spiral things, and it just felt like I don't like this character. And this one, I don't know, just doing something with these wings. And then, okay, so this one got finished up. And again, I didn't think the sci-fi thing was working. It's like, these don't really fit. And I'm not really using reference, so all this is sort of just BS'd. I think it would have made more sense had I used reference, but I'm also trying to still think in terms of cylinders and form and perspective and stuff. So here, for instance, the horizon is right here, so everything above we're looking up, looking up, looking up. And then here, we're looking down at the form. So that's important to consider. Here I wasn't even sure if I should have the leg here or here. It didn't make any sense. And then here I decided, okay, let me color the thing I had. And I was pretty happy with this. It's like, good, that's working. And then I colored this one, and I showed it to Bob Meatbag, and he wasn't really happy with the design. And he did a draw over, and I felt like, yeah, this has got too many problems. I should probably scrap this one. So I ended up not using this as a card design. But I did this one, and I thought, yep, this one's good. That works, and I like it. And it's very under-detailed compared to some of the others, or compared to the other two, I suppose. But I still like the simplicity of it. Just very basic. She seems quite, I don't know, innocent, I guess, but playful. And then this one, I mean, parts of it like this, it's like, okay, sure, but it just, overall, it felt like it wasn't working. It didn't feel very cool to me. I wasn't happy with this one either. So taking a break from the cards again, I usually take breaks just so that I'm thinking about it. When I approach it again, it's very fresh. Some cat things, more faces, some robot thingies. Again, I don't draw mechanical stuff very well or very often, which is why it's probably not very well. But here's a guy, this tall robot. Some more cats. And just playing around with some hatching. And it's hatching here. And the difference between hatching and cross-hatching is all in one direction, and cross-hatching goes, you have it one direction, then another set of lines that cross over it. I don't know. And this character playing around with some marker, and some marker here as well. And some more stuff. This is probably drawn from life. And some cats. And more robot thingies. I don't know what this is, but it looks pretty dumb. But I don't know, I kind of like it, I guess. And this person's upside down. I guess, I don't know what I was doing. If I was doing this pose with this leg with this pose and also with this pose, and just deciding, I don't know which one I liked more. I don't know. Can't remember. But it was something. And I did this character, and I actually liked this one. But I wasn't sure if it really works or if I should pursue it. It just felt like there's a lot of work and there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. And I hate that feeling. I hate the feeling of not knowing what I'm doing, not understanding what I'm doing, that I'm just sort of bullshitting my way through stuff. And with this one, unfortunately, I felt like, although I kind of like a lot of what's going on, I felt too much like I was just BSing. And this figure I did, I made this sort of like a tattoo, but the scarred ones, the scarification tattoos. And it felt way too simple. It's like, this isn't matching enough. And so I had to move on from it. And here I just did some more thumbnail composition ideas, just because I don't want to lose it. I mentioned this before, that I will keep going back to old things, revisiting them, so that I don't completely lose them. Okay, in this one, it was just an inverted... I did this speed painting with this girl and a monster, and at one point I inverted it, and it's like... I don't know. I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Maybe I could just keep that as something, so that's that. This one, I changed the body of the other one. It used to be like a insecty thing with two limbs coming off it. But I like this idea of like a twisting toothpastey thing that I mentioned. So I had this. But again, it wasn't that strong, I felt. I thought, yeah, it's okay, but it's not great. So I wasn't sure I'd use it. And then here, this was something that I thought, okay, I need to improve on graphic design. And I probably should have looked at reference, but I don't know. I just hate looking at reference, and I prefer to figure it out myself if possible. And then if I really can't, then I'll look at reference. But what I did is I filled the page with a bunch of squares, as I did before. And then I went into each square and tried to make something graphic and placed on a page in a very designed way. Because I would look at artists that I admired, and even artists that I didn't necessarily admire, and maybe their skill wasn't even to my level, but it would be a case of they would know how to put their face that they had drawn, or whatever they had drawn, their figure on the page in an appealing way with nice presentation that looked like it was professionally done. And that's something that I always was envious of. Like, oh man, I wish I could do that, but it just seemed kind of boring to me. It never really interested me. So I thought, okay, let's bite the bullet and just go for this. And so this one I didn't feel was a good success. This one didn't really work. This one didn't work that well. Here I just tried creating a figure and putting a circle behind with some text maybe. Here's some text and a figure doing this, and this one. So this whole thing I didn't really care for. Here I was thinking, okay, what if I have like a graphic shape here and then another shape of a figure, but that's kind of reflecting that graphic shape. Don't think that was successful. This one I thought kind of worked. Feels sort of like an advertising thing, and this one too feels very advertising. This one a little bit that way with just this rectangle, tall rectangle. Here it's I didn't really like this one. This one again not too strong, I felt. This one not sure about, and this as well. It's like, yeah, it definitely frames it better, because if you imagine this image, for instance, without this pink stuff, it would look fairly weak, but just putting like some graphic shapes behind make it feel suddenly more finished. And then this one seems okay, and this one as well. And this one, I found that I just had a figure doing nothing, and it was really boring. And then I put this mark, just one mark, and suddenly it looks like some fashion illustration or something. And it's like, wow, putting a mark really can make a big difference. Like, this could be text or it could be anything else, but just, it kind of was scary how something can be quite unfinished, and then suddenly you just add a little bit of something and, well, it's done, it's finished. It's all about arranging your elements. What you have are assets, and it's how you use your assets. Here, I didn't think this one worked very well, but I did another variation. I thought that one works. This one was like, yeah, make a figure and kind of box it in. Didn't think that was good. This one was okay, but not really great. Here I just wanted to try, well, what if I make an area that's blank and put the pink on the outside? What if I flip that? And I thought, yeah, they both are a different feeling. And this one's okay. This one I thought was okay. Again, okay. Here I thought, what if I take away the hair and put on a bra and panties and lipstick and the hair with all pink. Here it's almost like again, advertising or maybe an editorial feeling I get from it. But I don't really enjoy having text in my work ever. That's just personal taste. It's not like I think it looks bad, but it's just something I don't like. So it's like, I probably wouldn't use this with text, maybe something else. And this one looks like she has a big Dorito behind her. And then this last row, again, playing around with triangles, because you look at this and it's a triangle that's like that, you know, and then this one's inverted. It's like, yeah, that kind of works. Actually, now that I look at it, it's a bit of a star shape. And here, meh, okay, okay. This one I thought was kind of cool, and this one was kind of interesting as well. So it was my foray into just trying to play around with graphic things to improve on that. And then here, I had this idea of kind of taking it to the people and seeing, okay, how do I want my style? Does it work better if it's cell shaded, or what if it's painted more? And I thought of this idea of having two girls, and they're the identical same. The lines are identically the same, except I'll paint it in two different ways. So I was thinking about posing options for that. And then I did this, and I posted it on DeviantArt, and I asked people, like, which do you prefer? I think I gave this an A and a B, and this one's obviously cell shaded. this one is painted. And I wasn't sure. I mean, personally, I go for cell shaded more because that's just me. I like flat things more than, very formy things. But when I do like formy things, I like things getting lost in shadows and stuff like that. And one of the comments that kept popping up was, because I asked, do you prefer this or that? And a comment was something like, why don't you try both? And here's a very Escher girls pose, showing the boobs and the butt. But something I felt with the Escher girls thing was it's not necessarily, in my view, that important whether it's real or not. And I get that their complaint is it's influencing girls and giving them this unrealistic expectation of what should be able to or what they should be able to do, or else it's just, it's simply shallow and it's for guys that just want to look at boobs and butts and stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. And I think art is a good way of making the unreal, just, you want to see this and it doesn't exist, fine, do it in a drawing. And anyway, so enough of my philosophy, but here I thought, okay, I'll try the one where I do both, and that was my take on it. And it came off, I don't know, I'm still undecided, but a lot of people, I counted up the votes of cell shaded, painted, and this hybrid, and overwhelmingly it was in favor of hybrid. But I also wanted to know, because as I said, I've never sold my own work that's from my own ideas. I mean, way back when I was a fine artist, I did paintings, oil paintings, that I sold a few of those, but they were very different and for many, many years, I'd only done work for other people. So it's like, I didn't want to go to the convention and have, like, be it cell shaded or painted or something, and just have no one buy anything. It felt like that would be terrible for my self-esteem. So I really did want a style that's like, what do you like? Because I could do any of these three styles. Interestingly enough, a lot of people thought that the painted one took a lot more time than the cell shaded, but actually no, these two took about the same amount of time, and it's this one, this hybrid one, that took almost 3 or 4 times as long as either of those, because these ones, they have a very specific technique that I know how to go through, and this one, it kind of, you start with cell shading and then you turn it into a painting, so you have to do the entire cell shading, then do the entire painting. But because it's also not that flowy, it's more restricted. And so it seemed like most people preferred the hybrid, but most people were willing to put their money down for the painted or the hybrid, but not really the cell shaded. Cell shaded people seem to look at it and think like, this is really easy to do, and this is just quick, and so it's not worth putting money down for. So I figured, okay, it's got to be one of these two that I pursue. Anyway, back to some sketches. I hadn't done crickets in a while, so it's like, let's do some crickets and poses and dynamic poses, because that's something, again, I really like dynamic poses. And some of these poses are very strange. This person's like upside down, this person's upside down, and this one's kind of interesting. There's like a staff and she's like swinging around it. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but when does anything I do make sense? I'm sorry also, because I've gotten a few comments on YouTube videos that I've made about people saying, oh, you used to make tutorials and now you just you're full of yourself and stuff. And I'm not sure if it's because I've started saying I like some of my work, because before I used to hate on all my work. But the main reason I'm doing this is because I would have really liked to see my artists I admire show me their process, and I would get a lot from it. Like, I would love to see Joe Matt do his version of a Pointy Chin series, where he just went through his thought process, and why he's doing it, and what he's thinking about. So I'm really sorry when I hear that some people think I'm just doing this for myself and patting myself on the back, and this is all about me. And it's like, well, yeah, it's all about me in a sense, but it's really not for me. It's because I would have loved to see this. And if anyone else wants to do Pointy Chin series, believe me, I'm not going to be like, you're copying me. I'd probably just be like, whoa, that's cool. I like seeing your process. So for this, I actually used reference, and I used reference of contortionists, which is why this is there. Because, again, it was that Escher Girls thing. Like, well, what is possible? Like, this looks totally broken, but it's actually possible. Maybe I didn't do it perfectly well, but in the reference, the person was doing this pose, and like, that is crazy, but it's possible. So, again, it's sort of like, it's amazing what human bodies can actually do. And then this, I was doing a tutorial, or actually it was for an old episode of Pointy Chins where I'd done this thing, and if you've seen the old episode, you know what this is, and so I just redid it. And here, again, some more drawings, and this one I kind of like, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I saw Sycra did this character, and he had like teeth and this weird shape, and I just wanted to redraw Sycra's character. I guess you would call this fan art. So there you go, Sycra. I did fan art of your character. Obviously, I didn't do as good of a job, but it was just something that was on my mind. I'm like, yeah, man, that was really cool. Sometimes Sycra does very good work, and other times he just does good work. So here's some more sketching, having fun with poses. Some of them, like this, it's like cool, it's coming forward. This one I thought was pretty nice. I really like this one. Again, the leg position I wasn't sure about. I think this is a better position, but I don't think the foot's drawn properly. But this, I felt good energy. I wanted to incorporate stuff. This fail, because look at it. It's just feels weird and stiff and wrong. And I also did some small compositional ideas because I wanted to play with that. So these are super tiny, if you can see. Super tiny, but I thought, okay, this idea of having a ship coming into a dock and then having this type of, I don't know, structure that delivers cargo or something. And this one, it's just a figure coming towards the screen, but I'm thinking more about negative and positive spaces and foreshortening. This one is more of like, I'm not even sure, but it's like these are flying ships, and this is just a structure. Like, it's not important what it is, it's just about the composition. These are some kind of tree-like things, or maybe hot air balloons, or I'm not sure as well. But again, thinking about the composition, very confused about what this is supposed to be. And this one is clearly some spaceships, and they've got that circly engine thing that spins around, and then this is some big planet or something in the background. So yep. And some more hatching. Just getting better with hatching, practicing it, and wasn't actually like this page a lot less than I liked the previous page. And we have a fish monster, because why not? And here it's some more thumbnails of just marker sketches. Not really happy with these, but again, didn't want to lose it. Here I did some swirly for her hair, and I liked that. Thought that one was the one I liked the most. And here's some environment with some crashed helicopter, but the scaling is very wrong. Like, if you look at these trees, it's like they're pretty small compared to this, and yeah, so that's very bad perspective there, but whatever, as Sycra would say. And here's some more hair with the swirlies, and I thought, let me just go crazy, let me just do crazy ass stuff. And so here, and this one was really extreme how the hair goes, like nuts. And I thought, let's do this, but tilt it vertically, just for the sake of being really even more crazy. And let's have a guy who has very short hair and he's balding. I mean, not very short hair, but hair only on the side. And what if it just goes crazy, and what would that do? And what if it's the same thing with a guy's beard, and it's just going absolutely insane, the mustache and stuff? And yeah, not a good idea, but I wanted to try it anyway. And here is almost the final, very close anyway. I cropped it down to a few cards, but this is the design I found to settle on. It was really hard to get to this point because I'm really bad with decorative elements, but here are the different versions, and I suppose you could find ones you like. I tend to post these on DeviantArt and get feedback from people, because it's really interesting to see that the ones I like aren't necessarily the ones other people like, and there's a lot of a variation in what people choose. So I guess I'll just go through these. Yeah, and these. Okay, and then this one is the same one with this other girl, and the other ones just never saw the light of day because they never, I guess they weren't cared for enough. So here's this row, and here's this row. So in the next episode, I'm just going to be having fun with my pen. So I hope this one was interesting to anyone, and thanks for watching.